My name is Scott McKenna, 36 years old. I work as a systems engineer. Due to certain circumstances, I changed jobs when I was 26. That being said, my profession hasn't changed. I'm still a systems engineer. I just escaped from the US, that's all. After graduating from college, I got a job at the IT company, which was my first choice. I think it was a promising start to my career. I was motivated about my work, my colleagues and superiors were kind, and it was a workplace with good communication. Yet, I quit the company without even waiting 3 years. To put it simply, the reason was a woman. Her name was Lucy Matthews, who was assigned to the same department as me when I joined as a newbie. She was, how can I put it, a woman with a unique atmosphere and beautiful. In a world where cuteness is mainstream, I think she belonged to the category of beauty. As we worked together as system engineers, we got closer and started dating. I remember being surprised and overjoyed when Lucy confessed her feelings to me. I'm a rather plain man and a nerd who can't engage in stylish conversation. On top of that, Lucy was a Madonna-like figure in the company, the center of attention. She was out of my league. I couldn't believe that this flower on a high peak would come to me. Even now, when I think back on it, it feels like a miracle. Lucy was a flashy kind of beauty. Of course, she was well aware of her own beauty. She knew very well how to present herself. Embarrassingly enough, I think I was so afraid of her disliking me that I ended up being at her beck and call, and spent my days on edge. She quickly grew tired of me. I still remember her last words. "You might be capable at work, but you're a failure as a man. Being with you, Scott, was just boring." I couldn't hide my shock at the sudden breakup and contemptuous words. It's not often that one gets scolded directly like this, especially by a woman I love. This was harsh for me. Moreover, Lucy, who had dumped me harshly, was working at the desk every day, right next to me. I couldn't take it anymore. Please don't laugh at me for running away. I was so weak-minded. So, I left the company that I had been longing for. Since then, I haven't been in touch with Lucy. On the day I resigned, she had taken a paid vacation. It's been 10 years since I quit my job. I now stand in front of the building of the company I once adored. I feel as if I'm reviving the feelings I had as a first-year employee. The truth is, I didn't just leave the company in a hurry, I also fled from the US. It's a small industry. I thought it would be hard to face my former colleagues if I got a job. So, I decided to go to where nobody knows me. Foreign IT companies are truly meritocratic. I daringly left the US to test my skills. This decision was a great success. Despite my struggle with social skills, I was fortunate to find a company that highly valued my skills as a system engineer. Witnessing cutting-edge technology, I immersed myself in my work. A decade flew by in a blink. I returned to this company because an old colleague contacted me and asked me back. It was a rather forceful invitation, so I made a request. Initially, I wanted to be employed as a regular staff member. That was my request. By doing this first, I'm confident that this experience will be useful when I return to my original work. Thus, I became a new employee at the age of 36. The department I was assigned to was the same as before. But the atmosphere was not like before. Somehow, the employees seemed to be shrinking. Before, there should have been more freedom and active exchange of opinions. I wonder what the cause is. Coming back like this, you've got some thick skin. While surveying the floor from the entrance, I was spoken to from behind. A voice I couldn't forget. It's not like I came back because I wanted to. Lucy, listening to my reply, snorted discontentedly. She had the same floral perfume scent as before. Well, since you're a returnee, no matter who your former colleague is, no matter how old you are, you're a rookie here. You're at the very bottom. Don't forget that. Lucy, who said this arrogantly, had become a section manager. With Lucy in charge of this team, I became her subordinate. Lucy, confidently walking ahead with the clacking of her heels, was as confident as ever. What bothered me, however, was the attitude of my colleagues who were her subordinates. They seemed to be holding back around her. I carefully surveyed my surroundings and followed behind Lucy. Lucy introduced me as a returning rookie. Despite running away from this company, I came back. She introduced me as if mocking me. I'm Scott McKenna, nice to meet you. When I greeted, sparse applause broke out. When I was shown to my desk, I was surprised to see the one next to it. On the desk next to mine, there were 3 monitors, and in front of them, a small figure of a horse was displayed. Next to it was an eye massager and a shoulder-pounding stick. I could feel the strong presence. What? Is there something wrong with my desk? The one peering at me from below as she said this was a short, skinny girl. The inside of her wolf-cut hair was bleached white. The eyeliner around her eyes was flared like a cat's. Nice to meet you. I'm Emma Smith. Call me Emma. She stretched out her small right hand full of rings, and I shook it back. Her hand was as small as an elementary school student's. As soon as Emma took her seat, she put on white headphones. After that, she began to work at an astonishing speed. Thinking that she might only be assigned simple tasks, I stealthily glanced at Emma's screen. I let out a surprised voice involuntarily. What Emma was getting done at an incredible speed was not simple work. She's like solving intricate puzzles and codes with incredible speed. No doubt, the ace of this department is Emma. I'm certain of it. What's up? Interested in me? Emma, who I thought was only looking at her monitor, says this without changing her gaze. Get caught in the act of sneaking glances, I feel a bit guilty. You can look at me more openly if you want. She turns her face towards me and smiles. As she tells me this with an upward glance and a smile, I can only respond with a huh and scratch my head. By all means, feel free to compliment me. Being told this so refreshingly feels, well, refreshing. The atmosphere in the office has changed, but everyone's skills haven't diminished. That gives me a sense of relief. That said, it seems that our boss Lucy might be responsible for this change in atmosphere. On my first day, as a system engineer, the task given to me was stapling documents. The only time I touched a computer was to check company emails. Lucy intentionally kept me away from computers. In other words, she only assigned me to do miscellaneous tasks. Newbies make the coffee in this office. Since you, Scott, are the most recent and lowest in rank, please take care of the chores. Oh, and also please make a lunch reservation for us. Saying that, Lucy left a stack of cards from restaurants at my desk. Seeing this, Emma gives a wry smile. She always does this to new people. If there's anything you don't understand, just ask me, okay? I've been through it too. Being encouraged by Emma, I can't help but smile wryly too. Being encouraged by a girl almost 10 years younger makes me feel like I've regressed to my pitiful past. Thanks, that helps. As I bow my head in thanks, she looks at me as if she's discovered a rare creature. What? Is there something wrong? I quickly check myself, wondering if I've spilled coffee on my shirt or something. I find nothing wrong. No, it's not that. It's rare to hear a grown man say he's grateful to a young girl. That is new for me. She quickly puts her headphones back on and gets back to work. I touch my cheek. worried that I might have appeared pathetic. A week has passed, and I still haven't been given any proper work. Lucy begins to pile up chores from other departments on my desk. It seems like the tasks within our department weren't enough. "Good morning, Mr. McKenna." Rubbing her sleepy eyes, Emma arrives at work just in time. She dumps her backpack on her desk and heads straight to the kitchen to make coffee. At that moment, I spot something under my desk. I pick it up and am taken aback. It's a flamboyantly pink and blue bikini top. I hurriedly look around. Luckily, it seems like no one has noticed. The mouth of Emma's backpack on her desk is carelessly left half open. It probably fell out of there. Even though I picked it up, I'm unsure of what to do next and start to act suspiciously. It would be best to sneak it back into the bag, but it would get complicated if Emma came back midway. Do you imagine things? As I'm wondering what to do, Emma's voice, tinged with a sigh, reaches my ears. Without thinking, I bolted up from my chair. Looking up at me with a teasing gaze was Emma. Her gaze made my heart flutter. I felt like I saw a feminine side to Emma, who usually doesn't show such traits. This was on the floor. In my flistered excuse, Emma brought her lips close to my ear once again. Reality is 100 times cuter than imagination. Finally, she let out a soft breath against my ear and I slid off the chair. There was a sultry musk scent that was too strong for the morning. It was the scent of Emma's perfume. When sitting next to her, it's a cute and gentle scent, but at close range, it turns to a sexy scent. That change in the gap made my heart pound violently. Being teased by a girl 10 years younger, I felt my seniority melting away. "I'm going to a night pool with friends today. Thanks for picking this up for me." Emma extended her hand towards me, lost in thought. First, I handed her swimsuit back, then took her hand to get up. Isn't it dangerous for a young girl to go to a night pool dressed like that? It's not a good idea. Without thinking, I sounded like a worried father. Emma gave me a confused look before bursting into laughter. She said she had never even heard such a thing from her own parents and kept laughing. Embarrassed, I muttered, "Give me a break." "Okay, if you're worried, Mr. McKenna, I won't go, but in return, I expect a reward. I'll be looking forward to it." She pushed the swimsuit into the pocket of my suit, and Emma laughed. Now I can't go to the night pool. I was captivated by Emma, who was smiling mischievously like a naughty child. It was a shocking realization of what a truly charming little devil she was. After this day, Emma and I became considerably closer. Somehow, I felt like I was being rolled around in the palm of her hand. When Emma showed up for the dinner I invited her to instead of the night pool, I was breathless. She had a completely different atmosphere than at work. Her loosely tied-up hair had perfectly fallen strands, giving her a melancholy and sexy look. A black mini dress with Dr. Martens boots. Her lips, painted a cherry blossom color, gave off an innocent vibe, contrary to her attire. I was confused about who the real Emma was. I'm lucky to be invited to such a fancy restaurant. In a small voice matching the ambience of the restaurant, Emma murmured, "I have no idea what to order." She laughed helplessly, and I found myself chuckling too. "Do you have any food allergies or dislikes?" When I asked, she answered like an honors student, "No, I don't." She seemed a bit overwhelmed by the ambience of the restaurant and appeared nervous. It made me realize that at 26, she could still have endearing, innocent moments. When I finished ordering, Emma was unusually looking at me with eyes full of admiration. "What is it?" "McKenna, you can speak French. That's impressive." I seemed to surprise her when I spoke a bit of French with the chef. As we dined, I told Emma about my experiences working in various places abroad. Emma quickly fired off a barrage of questions, causing us both to repeatedly pause our meal. I was happy she was so interested, so I shared things I'd never told anyone before. At every new revelation, Emma either laughed and clapped her hands or seemed taken aback. "Feels like I'm doing all the talking. Let me hear about you, Ms. Smith." I had just made that remark when she told me to call her Emma. "If you don't call me that, I won't respond," she said, peering into my eyes. Swallowing nervously, I cautiously called her Emma. "Yes, Scott." With a smile and a tilt of her head, she responded, almost knocking me off my feet. "I don't know what to do. I can't win against this girl." That was the lesson I learned that night. "Looks like you're smitten with a young girl, isn't it?" One day, Lucy, whom I crossed paths with in the hallway, stopped and said out loud for everyone to hear. Hearing Lucy's voice, the surrounding employees started whispering and glancing my way. "Weren't you infatuated with me before? Changed your tastes now, have you, into younger women?" Lucy's teasing tone slightly ticked me off. I was surprised, too. "I thought you'd be long married and retired by now. That's why I returned to this company. I didn't expect you to be still on the market." At my words, Lucy's face turned bright red. The whispers around us grew louder. Lucy had already started spreading stories of my past among my colleagues. I had once come across her animatedly sharing stories of how I used to be head over heels for her. While it's true that I was infatuated with Lucy, I'm not ashamed of it. However, her exaggerations and smug way of narrating irked me. Being able to pay her back a bit felt somewhat refreshing. "What, still on the market? That's rude. It's just that I haven't met a man who's worthy of me. Stop making fun of me." Lucy raised her voice in protest. Apparently, she is in a close relationship at the moment. She rambled on about her partner, a high flyer in the industry, being more wonderful than any men in our company, although no one had asked. It seemed like she didn't want people to think she was single. It's typical Lucy, who's always had a boyfriend without a break. There's no doubt she has someone now. But when it comes to marriage, men look at different aspects of a woman. Whether living together would be enjoyable or tiresome. In other words, while Lucy is popular but not married, she's great as a girlfriend, but not suitable for marriage. The current situation demonstrates that clearly. Well, that's the thing. Don't compare me with someone who can only handle young girls. Leaving behind such a dismissive remark, the visibly annoyed Lucy stormed off. I watched as she took out her anger on her subordinates while she left. Lucy's boyfriend. Yay, I know him. He's from the development department of our rival company. He's really cheesy and, well, creepy. During lunch break, Emma and I were nibbling on some sweet bread at our adjacent desks. When I asked about Lucy's boyfriend, Emma gave a rather disgusted look as she filled me in about the man. The fact that she herself had been hit on by him seemed to disgust her to her core, which I found amusing and couldn't help but chuckle. It's not funny. I think that guy is a schemer. He even tried to talk me into transferring and suggested I bring some information as a gift. The conversation quickly took a grim turn. What do you mean by that? I stopped nibbling on the pastry. Exactly what it sounds like. That man is trying every trick in the book to steal our development information. Emma crumpled up her bread back, and with a dangerous smile, she delivered her words. Given the circumstances, it appeared that Lucy was his current target. From what I gathered today, Lucy seemed quite smitten with him. I could only hope that my bad feeling wouldn't turn out to be true. I know who you really are, Scott. Nonchalantly revealing my secret as she looked at her computer monitor. What, you're joking, right? The words slipped out of my mouth, to which Emma gave a wicked grin. On her computer screen was my confidential transfer order, which hadn't been disclosed publicly. She seemed to have effortlessly bypassed the HR computer security and discovered the truth. She confessed she had been suspicious from the start. She seemed to have noticed me reading the program source code that was displayed on her computer monitor. "Nobody in this department can read code like you can. I knew right away you were not just an ordinary Joe." I was left scratching my head, my cover blown. "Now, shall we swiftly drain the pus and make this workplace more pleasant?" Emma said in a mockingly polite tone, her face plastered with the mischievous grin she often wore. "Roger that," I conceded, throwing up my hands in surrender. I decided to dive straight into the harsh treatment. I was able to catch the tail of the information leak quite easily. Lucy had always been careless. There were traces of her habits even in the program source code. She had copied the program of a recently developed system. And there were traces of her attempting to take it outside the company. More precisely, traces of her attempt to erase evidence of her actions were clearly left behind. Others might have overlooked it, but not me. Instead of making a public spectacle, we agreed to handle this matter discreetly and consult with higher-ups. There was also a slight degree of past compassion involved. Information leak. In our department, there's no way. That was Lucy's reaction when called by the boss and informed about the leak. Furthermore, she reportedly suggested that Emma might be the culprit if there was a leak. Her basis was that Emma disrespects me, her section manager. A clear personal grudge. This conversation took place the day I met with my boss. Unusually, Lucy, who usually leaves work on time, was staying late. Both Emma and I often work overtime. Emma prefers to wrap up her work at a good stopping point before heading home, while I typically get caught up in miscellaneous tasks. I occasionally glanced over at Lucy, who was unusually glued to her computer. I suspected she was staying behind with some ulterior motive. "Are you guys not leaving yet? You're wasting electricity." Lucy yells at us from afar. Her voice carries a sharp edge of impatience. I can feel Lucy's anxiety as if I could touch it. She must be trying to cover up all her wrongdoings. But all the access codes have been rewritten by my coworker, Emma. Someone else might have been able to crack it, but breaking through a system that Emma has constructed is impossible for Lucy. Even from our seats, we can hear Lucy's sking. The next moment, a loud alarm blares from Lucy's computer, signaling an emergency. She's fallen into the trap I've set. Upon hearing the noise, the security guard rushes into the floor. Employees who had been working overtime in other departments also gather around. I didn't do anything, it just started going off by itself. "It's a bug, a bug. Who the hell programmed this?" Lucy stands up, pointing at her computer. The alarm continues. Then, Emma steps smoothly to the computer and silences the alarm in an instant. As soon as the noise stops, Lucy's face relaxes. And in the next moment, she points at Emma and starts yelling. "This is your doing. You're the one who leaked the information too, aren't you? You set up this trap because you didn't want me investigating you." Lucy doesn't get to finish her sentence. "Because the boss showed himself among the gawkers." "Lucy, this isn't a good look. You are the main culprit behind the data leak, aren't you? Falling into this trap is proof of that." The boss explains to Lucy that all the evidence was gathered in my internal investigation. Lucy, shocked, looks at me. "You're lying. Scott doesn't have these skills. What could a good-for-nothing errand boy do?" Lucy glares at me, then rounds on the boss. The boss sighs in exasperation. "Scott, I'm glad we followed your plan. I never expected to catch such a big fish." Lucy looks at me, dumbfounded, as the boss speaks to me amicably. She clearly hadn't expected that I was working with the boss. "Scott is a talent we invited to our company as a supervisor. He's my right-hand man, whom I brought in from England." At the boss's words, Lucy is stunned into silence. "We'll notify you of your punishment later. For now, go home and refrain from work until we get in touch." Upon hearing the boss's words, Lucy collapses on the spot. Later, Lucy gets transferred to a small branch office in Nebraska. I end up taking over Lucy's position. Emma complained about her desk being moved away from mine, but there's nothing that could be done about that. Although the ending left a sour taste in our mouths, the atmosphere at work changed completely. I think it's getting closer to how it was when I was around. A workplace with a good flow of communication, where lively and candid exchanges of opinion are possible, and performance quickly starts to improve. Everyone on the floor acknowledges that Emma is contributing to this change. I think we can continue to work together like this forever. That's what I was leisurely thinking. But Emma isn't someone who would settle here. A year later, she receives an offer to study abroad in Japan. Bring home the latest technology and information. That is her mission. The company is covering all the expenses for her study abroad. She had absolutely no reason to refuse. When this conversation came up, I was shaken. We never openly acknowledged it, but we consider each other as lovers. I lack the capacity to cheerfully wave goodbye as my irreplaceable partner sets off across the sea. How can I make her stay? That's all I could think about. Even when I'm with Emma, all I can do is contemplate how to make her stay in the US, making it impossible to enjoy our time. Should I propose marriage as a last resort? I'm disgusted by myself for even considering such a low method. Emma laughs as if she sees right through my thoughts. "Hey, are you going to be lonely if I go to study abroad?" Emma, who has always been one step ahead of me, stops and turns to look at me. "Of course I'll be lonely, that's a given." Emma chuckles happily upon hearing my reply. I thought this was the only moment to mention marriage. Just when I gathered my courage and tried to voice it, Emma's slender finger touched my lips. "No, not now. When I come back from Japan, then you can move on me. I'll say yes right away." Emma looks at me with unusually serious eyes. After she finishes her sentence, she gives me a soft smile. I raise both my hands in a surrendering pose. I've never won against Emma anyway. I get it, I promise. And so, I sent Emma off. 4 years later, I'm waiting for Emma at JFK Airport. It's not like me, but I've prepared a bouquet of flowers. I've had my opening line decided since 4 years ago. "Welcome back, will you marry me?" My heart feels like it's about to leap out of my mouth. The electronic display announces the arrival of Emma's flight. It's only a little longer. In a little while, a new chapter of our story will begin. Of course, the ending is planned to be a happy one. How did you find today's story? Your subscription and likes will be an encouragement for my content creation. I look forward to your comments. See you in the next video.